ETF approval a given?
Well, thank you for having me. And no, it's not. Gary Gensler and the SEC have done a very good job of really trying to regulate with the existing statutes how Bitcoin and other different kinds of coins are being regulated here. They have not had anything where they've led them onto a securities exchange yet, which is what you're talking about. There are coins on the commodities exchange because the regulatory scheme over there is different. So I think for them to let one onto a securities exchange, which they regulate as opposed to the commodity exchanges, is going to be a very difficult lift. And if it does happen, I would expect it's going to take a while, and there's going to be a fair amount of regulation written around it so that they can guard against the kinds of things that happen with some of these coins.
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. And you know I come back with that video just to make you think.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Support this great content by hitting the Cash App and by joining the Patreon.
And we have Bloomberg playing the Hegelian dialectic. Former SEC attorney says that Bitcoin spot ETF is not guaranteed. But we know in the U.S. we should have had a spot Bitcoin ETF. It's like 2 or 3 in Canada. Now we have the banksters meeting in Saudi Arabia. And those who are old like me know anytime the drums are beating, we know these billionaires sit in their homes and lock themselves up. Now they're flying all over the place. There's no way someone will be flying in the Middle East when the drums are beating. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you. We have Larry Fink, Jamie Dimon, Ray Dalio. And we have Larry Fink talking about all the debt the United States has. But remember, guys, there's no such thing as debt when you are the world reserve currency. You can just keep printing money. And we have Ray Dalio always talking about the drums are beating. And we know he's been heavily invested in China for forever. He knows the two must collide in order for China to rise and America to Babylon to end. And we have China ready to stimulate the economy. Remember, guys, they're going to flip the switch to the 4th Industrial Revolution in 2024. Remember, guys, this is a plan. It moves in phases. Yes, it's going to take about 5 years for them to become that world reserve currency, but the only thing you have to do is look at the Belt and Road. The plan is coming together. And remember, that's the reason why we're moving over to digital money. They're going to be able to airdrop that free money, taking their poverty to the middle class. And India will be right behind them. But remember, guys, in those countries, they're not worried about privacy. And the United States, that's where privacy becomes an issue because we're the last free nation. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you.
Had a government, I'm talking about the U.S. now, that in 2000 we had an $8 trillion deficit. And today we have a $33 trillion deficit. So the deficit's grown by more than $1 trillion each year over the last 23 years. That is highly inflationary. The balance sheet of the Federal Reserve is highly inflationary. And so all these different measures are much more structural, much more difficult. So as a result of that, interest rates are going to remain higher. Opportunities for investors are going to be able to be very patient. You could do nothing and enjoy a positive return.
All right. So are you expecting a hard landing or a soft landing in the United States, or you just can't project?
We will not see a hard or a soft landing in 2024. The amount of fiscal stimulus that is just entering the economy, which is very inflationary. The CHIPS Act, the IRA, and the Infrastructure Act, about $970 billion. The largest peacetime, non-pandemic moment of fiscal stimulus. At the same time, our central bank is trying to arrest the economy. And so that's just hitting the J curve. And you see in labor settlements right now what's going on in labor talk, 25% increases in wages. So I don't see a problem But I do believe the Federal Reserve is going to have to raise rates higher, which probably will mean by 25 we may have a soft, we may have a hard landing. That is the only way I see how we're going to be arresting this. But I don't expect it anytime soon.
Pessimistic about that. Look, you have a political, you have a monetary, you have a conflict type of environment. At the same time, you have the greatest inventiveness. We talk about this fabulous technology development that has so much potential to produce wonderful things, and then also it could be a problem. So if you take the time horizon, the monetary policies that we're going to see and so on will have greater effects on the world. And you look at the world gaps, so it's difficult to be optimistic on that. And I think that now the real issue, I think, is how we deal with each other. Okay? If it was said earlier very well, peace. If we can keep a peace, if we can have a healthy, competitive environment without having a war with each other, we will be in good shape. We will make adaptations. There are pre-existing conditions that represent challenges. So, for example, the amount of debt that we're in represents you can't pretend it exists. So it represents a challenge. There are a lot of these challenges, but it is not inevitable. What is needed is, first of all, a strong middle, okay, to bring the country together in terms of, rather than to have this fighting, because if we continue the way we will, we're going to have a conflict. And then there needs to be a good engineering exercise that's going to produce, but has to be bipartisan. Has to be bipartisan with that strong middle, taking control of the extremes, because neither side's going to win.
A great reformation.
So, and that reformation I think should take the form of, like, if I was president of the United States, what I would do is I'd have
on the table,
bipartisan cabinet. I'm not running for president.
33 attorneys general from across the United States are now suing Meta for allegedly endangering young users and profiting off the data harvested from them. The suit also alleging that Meta knows its platforms are addictive to its users, but that it does not disclose that fact. Remember, this follows a 2021 probe into Meta from several state AGs alleging that the company promoted Instagram to children despite knowing of potential harms it could have on their mental and physical health. Meta telling us, for its part in a statement, we share the Attorney General's commitment to providing teens with safe, positive experiences online and have already introduced over 30 tools to support teens and their families. We are disappointed that instead of working productively with the companies across the industry to create clear, age-appropriate standards for the many apps teens use, the attorneys general have chosen this path. Carl, they're apparently demanding a number of remedies, including civil penalties. Meta's stock right now not reacting too much. It's off the highs of the day, but it is still higher. Keep in mind, it's also up more than 200% since last October and will report earnings.
For General Motors, you're talking about the plant in Arlington, Texas, where they build all of their large SUVs. Let me give you some perspective on just how important this plant is. About 5,000 UAW members have walked off the job there. This is 20% of GM's U.S. production. It is the largest, most profitable plant they have in the United States. Not surprisingly, this is news that does not fit well as they come off of an earnings report where they said, look, we're already going to take an $800 million hit from the UAW strike, at least $200 million a week going forward. And that was before the Arlington announcement came out. They've pulled back their guidance completely for the year because they don't know how much the cost will be from this strike.
Now we have Meta being sued by 33 attorney generals. That's right, you heard that correct, guys. 33. So we know that's part of the plan. We know the NWO is one step back, two steps forward. They were using data to manipulate the youth. I thought that was the whole point of social media, is social engineering. Like Ray Dalio stated, they need engineering, and that's the reason why social media is so powerful. That's the reason why television is so powerful, because it can make the masses move in their direction. So they're admitting that they're manipulating the minds of the youth. And this is not the first time they've admitted this. You know, I've done several videos on social media. Guys, remember, your life is an illusion and TV is your reality. And then we have more strikes, not making your mainstream media anymore, not being talked about, but little do the people know it's going to affect everybody in the U.S. When it comes to GM, they've already lost $1 billion, and that's not even including Stellantis and Ford. But more and more people just keep getting laid off. And the worst part about this, guys, is that the NWO is going to use this as a benefit in the first quarter of next year because these workers are going to go back into the numbers. So employment numbers for the first quarter are going to be inflated. We already know employment numbers are incorrect already. But with these workers on strike, and a lot of these workers being laid off, and these automobile companies moving over to electric vehicles, we know that work is going to China, and China's going to ship that work over to Mexico, and those vehicles are going to come in the United States free of charge. I've already done a video on it, guys. You can already see the plan. But remember, we're supposed to be at odds with China, but they can send vehicles to the United States free of charge. The NWO are the master magicians. And remember, the crypto teacher told you, because he knows. When it comes to the NWO, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
Going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go. But clearly, we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leverage to technology, and I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
And so we'll import Chinese-based CBDC technology. So it's going to be CBDC in a box provided to you by the People's Bank of China.
But every stock, every bond, every currency, every commodity, every piece of art, every private business, every piece of real estate will eventually be a token on a blockchain, an entry on a ledger, permanent and immutable. We will have truth instead of trust. And we will save over $7 trillion a year. 6 to 8% of global GDP is wasted by the friction of the trust industry that's necessary when you have dual entry accounting. With triple entry accounting, which is what a blockchain is, we get rid of all of that friction. It's a beautiful future.
Like what you see in China and their social credit scoring systems, right? If we get identity wrong, it could be a tool to enslave humanity. And if we get it right, it could be a tool to liberate humanity. And as an American, I'm obviously rooting for the one that's on the side of freedom.
Bitcoin is an international asset. And also, I do believe the role of crypto is, it's digitizing gold.
I actually believe this technology is going to be very important. Look at it. We have been part of a huge revolution in investing through ETFs. We believe that ETFs will be changing the whole way we invest. Many people still use it as a means, people are investing it for indexing. No, the majority of people who are putting money in in ETFs are active investors that are buying exposure. The entire bond market is being transformed as we talk right now. I believe the next generation for markets, the next generation for securities will be tokenization of securities. And if we could have that distributed ledger that we know every beneficial owner, every beneficial seller, we all have our code of who's buying, who's selling, instantaneous settlement. And think about it, it changes the whole ecosystem.
Crypto Teacher and the New World Order book, plus the 3 Kids books. It's time to re-educate. Also, new to cryptos, Coinbase, Bitrue, Binance. Do not forget book links and crypto links are in the description. The stock channel, guys. Don't forget to go like, subscribe, spread everywhere. You have your Kobo, your chip stocks, your banking, your gaming. While everybody's sitting at home, get on stocks, the Seaver, the biotech stocks. And while everybody's at home wishing they were still getting that free money, what are they doing? drinking and smoking weed. Don't forget about those stocks, and you have a wonderful day. The most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, you know I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids books. You know I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate, not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save New York from COVID-33. Part 3. King Joshua and Grandma Tam goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.